There is a saying in the sutra called Diamond Sutra. The phrase is very famous. We Neng or Eno heard about this phrase and got enlightened or awakened. And the phrase is Omushoju Nichu Goshin in Japanese, that very short phrase. In English, let the mind flow freely without abiding anywhere, like water or the clouds in the sky moving. And that phrase describes the state of the mind freely moving, as if when you do the meditation or zazen, sitting meditation, you get to that state and you're free. Mind is free. What's interesting about that phrase is very much like, well, let's start with this one, like a lucid dream. When you're dreaming, I have to check the exact definition of lucid dream, but my sense is that you are asleep, but you're awake. It's like halfway between kind of a state. And so you know you're dreaming. So there's the entity of you being aware of what's happening, but you're also the one who is participating, protagonist of that dream, that you are the one moving around. So it's like a dual identity. And what it points to me of the duality or the dual entity, one sees himself, so observer is observed. That's one of the famous sayings of Krishna Murti. He didn't refer to this phrase, but essentially what it means by observer is observed is like in this lucid dream. And the mind is free, flexible, and you're observing it. Not constrained. So I don't know if physiologically is the right word, but if I see the construct of the brain and heart or the body, I mentioned in the other video about the paradox. One is dualistic, one is absolute. Like Advaita is one of the phrase, or I think it may come with the Hinduist view or the Buddhist view or Buddhist experience. So it's not the concept, it's the experiential state of mind being free without abiding anywhere. So there's a peaceful sense of awareness of who you are. And you may get into this state when you're meditating or in the lucid dream, or when you're like a daydreaming and the thought experiment playing around. Or you can call it brainstorming, but not pushing, but letting the mind move freely. So you can see the mind, if you don't have that, you're either in your brain focused on doing things or sleep. You don't know. Or if you are in a deep samadhi, then you may find there's no thought, emptiness. So this phrase may point halfway between state, between the brain or the mind and body or the heart. And I explained this in my third book, Results from the Heart, pointing in this state, but saying that use the brain, but not to be used, and listen to your heart, and live with the mission. So no, you are not used by the brain. You are in such a state. I didn't describe it this way in the book, but maybe it became more clearly or obvious that that state is the state where the paradox of the brain and the heart or the body has the engagement between the two. That often is to be seen as the moment when you come up with the idea or invention or aha moment, light bulb, because that's when your mind is free, and then idea pops up, wisdom pops up, or compassionate sense comes out as a natural state. So there's no ego, no mind fully engaged in that, but letting go of the mind in the state of being. Now, here. So full utilization of your construct of the brain and heart is engaged or connected at such a state. So we may pass by those up and down, because when you wake up, you go into the brain and do this, do that, and then when you go to sleep, and then shut off, and then go sleep. And then you may have the dream. And that dream, not the lucid dream, is more in the brain state as I picture when it's happening. Because you are not watching yourself, you are already in the dream. So not the halfway. So the halfway sounds like a transient thing, and it is transient if you don't pay attention to it. You just go and lucid dream and you forget about it. But if you are more aware of that state, you can stay there longer. And when you're meditating, zazen, sitting, or it doesn't have to be, like right now, emptying my mind, no ego playing. Mind moves freely without abiding anywhere. So if I do this video, not with the brain, but at the state of being, then my comment may represent that wisdom, possibly. What's interesting, however, if I think of this phrase, be the master of destiny, you may find that, like the word, use the brain, listen to your heart, and live with the mission, destiny. So you're experiencing and expressing who you are from the absolute state of being. As if you are like my expression is eternal home, but aware of the thought in the mind. So no ego, there's clarity. I use the word transparency. Like the word quietude in Nirvana. You are expressing the way of universe, if I say so, because there's no barrier. Thought in duality, but the eternal home is absolute. But those two are bridged, connected, as idea may pop up. You are aware that you are aware. So double entity of me and the me looking at me is resolved. So there's only awareness. And out of that, if we live that as a key ground, then we can use the brain to listen to your heart and live with the mission. And that's the idea of the artificial super heart. Not at the absolute state of being, not in the dualistic way of doing things in the brain, but in between, bridging the gap. So there is no discrepancy, blockage, barriers, bottlenecks, and you are at peace. You are riding the wave of the universe. You are the way of the nature as it is. And then I thought about this whole thing. I was meditating this morning. It's still 6:30 now. But the thought popped up. And the thought is, you may have that connection to the heart and the source of our being, way of the universe, way of nature. But this in-between state may not go connected to that deep level, at the core level, but a little bit above. And when it happens, the person may behave as if he's a master, but not connected to the root. So there's a danger when that happens, because you're not representing truly with the root, the way of nature, the way, the laws of nature functioning. Implant. When you have parents, friends, influenced you when you are very little. So before you develop the language, words and logic, you look around and you see what's going on and you find people doing things, and just like the duck looking at the moving things as the mother or parents, you implant that experience of what is good or bad or whatever the situation is. And if it's influenced by the ego of the other person's behavior, then you may get stuck with that. And you start to use the word and logic connected to that implant experience. And then what may happen is not like truly expressing from the core of your being, but not the core, but you don't know it, or we don't know it. And when it happens, he doesn't know it, but he believes he has the essence from that implant. And when it happens, everything he does would be connected to that. And may not represent may all beings be happy, but may everything be happy with who I am as I was implanted, which may not represent the idea like may all beings be happy. But he doesn't know it, not awakened. So when we have the brain, as we developed over time, that's how we want to use the brain. But when we have AI as the extension of the brain, that makes the story more troublesome, possibly. I think you can picture that. With the wrong motivation, with certain ego, and you use AI, it's not gonna do well. But for him or her, that's all he sees. So basically, ego without knowing it's ego. Therefore, he would keep pushing that idea forward. And that happens. So, with the help of AI, that scenario is not going to be good for others. So, the problem get multiplied and get into this dystopian in the sense of wrong use of AI. Not the AI itself is dystopian. And that could be the case because it's like a brain without connected to the heart. So those are the issues that we may go through. Unfortunately, but it's just the way. But we have a possibility to know that, realize that, and do something about it. I call that artificial super heart, not just artificial super intelligence. Let's see what can be done. May all beings be happy.